When I was about 14, I started helping out. My mum was in a chef in a kitchen, and they got desperate and needed a KP one Christmas, and that's where I started within the hospitality industry. I suppose I did that through school, and then I started in college and I did accountancy and computers. And did a national cert in accountancy and computers. So that was a 2-year course. From there I went on and did IT, and I did a teaching diploma in IT. But all through that journey I still worked in the hospitality industry, and finished in college, and then just went off and started managing bars and restaurants, and hotels, and that's where I ended after 13 years of finished in higher education, going back into higher education again, and started to do a little bit of lecturing, and absolutely loved it. But it was only something I could do part-time until I had a minimum of my honours degree, and that's where the RPL came into fruition for me, and where I found out about it, and needed to fill in my RPL form. So for me, filling out the form, it made an awful lot of sense for me to just look at the learning outcomes of that 3rd year that I was trying to get through, and to show each of my experience to get through that. So if it was through I don't know, the IT part of it, I was able to show through my experience in college what I had done, and be able to prove through pieces of paper and through my certs and my diploma of how I got through. But if it was something to do with maybe restaurant service skills or anything like that, I was able to show through my experience of the 18 years that I had behind me, and put that down on paper. But using the learning outcomes of the courses was so much easier to actually specify, and not to, I suppose, put information in that wasn't necessarily needed. And it just gave me a target, which was a lot easier to work with. For the experience part, that was a doddle. I mean, it was really, really easy to go through everything I've been at and had done. But I suppose for myself, maybe I play down an awful lot of what I had done, and trying to put it on paper and to let yourself shine maybe, and put that down. That's what you really need to do. You know, you really need to show what you've done, and not be afraid to shine, and give everything you've done. Well, your evidence were your certs, first and foremost, of your education that you've been at. Other evidence was, yes, your job description of where I had been in my last. I kind of went back 2 or 3 jobs, like I would have done as if it was a curriculum vitae I was doing. I got my references from my managers, and put them down there to help, at least if there was any questions that maybe they could ring and find out for sure. But yeah, your job description, putting down, and just making sure that you put everything, every detail that you had covered through the learning outcomes of the previous year. You put them down to make sure it was all covered. Biggest challenge would probably have been just trying to find out the levels that I had done education-wise previously, because the work experience was there and that wasn't that hard, but it was difficult going back 13 years to get just those modules I had covered previously, and finding out, was it a level 5 or was it a level 6, or my diploma, there was a question mark. Was it a 6 or a 7, you know? So but yeah, that took just a little bit of time, but it was manageable, and you got it in the end. So once I had all my background work done, it probably took, I'd say, maybe about 35 to 40 hours to sit down and to really put it all together. You know, it was trying not to miss something, and I was fortunate enough to at least have somebody within the hotel management section to advise me if I did have a question. And I suppose for anyone going back to do the process, to know that there are people within each of the departments to actually help. You know, they are amazing in the college, in every department, and I've been lucky enough to have had an introduction to a lot of the departments and gotten to know a lot of the staff, and there was always somebody there to help out, and until I was actually working here, I suppose I didn't realise that. So for anyone going to do an application is to know, don't be afraid to go into the department that they are hoping to enter into, and ask for help and ask for somebody to give you a little bit of advice. I've just finished my exams. And I really enjoyed the course. I suppose there was a lot maybe that I had experience in, and it was going back to the education side, and writing, that you've completely forgotten about when you're out in industry all the time. You know, it's very much hands-on. I would have worked, and I'd worked a lot with computers, but just going back to the books again, that was a big change. And sitting my first exam, that was a real eye-opener. But really enjoyable experience, really enjoyable. And from it, I want to go back and further and go back into education again, and hopefully do a master's. So, yeah, sucker for punishment.